All right, thanks for tuning in. We've got another snippet from our live show, and it's a new channel, so we definitely appreciate any likes or subscriptions that we get. Really greatly appreciate that because it has a huge impact. Every single one that you click on, I greatly appreciate it. Again, this is a snippet from our live show. This is Asmon Gold talking about he might play Baldur's Gate 3, and I already purchased it, so we'll get around to playing it eventually on our live stream after I get, I don't know if I'm going to completely finish playing Oxygen Not Included before I start playing Baldur's Gate 3, but I definitely want to get a little bit further into it at least. Or I might just play it today. Who knows? Keep an eye out. Get that notification bell enabled if you're interested in watching me play that game live, and you'll get notified when I upload videos like this or when I'm live. Thanks for tuning in. I'll turn it over to Live Me for the coverage on Asmon talking about Baldur's Gate 3.
I feel like how up is it that I forgot what the term feature complete was. It's been so long since a game has come out and that term has been used on it. I forgot that even existed. What is that? So 3,000 years ago, all right?
I cannot begin to tell you how.
Yeah, really. It's been a while. Well, I mean, some games come out feature complete. They're usually the indie games, though, like the not super AAA studio games. Usually the AAA studio games are the ones that rush something out to get out on their promised date because their advertisers want their product and their shareholders and all that crap. They want their product out on a specific date so they know when to trade stocks and do investment bullshit. And that's really the problem with these AAA studios releasing games that aren't feature complete. Well, that and the other problem is that they want to sell you shit that they should have had in the original game after the game's been, even though they charge you full game price right off the bat. They want to sell you more shit that should have been in that full game price to begin with. That's what my main problem is with those games.
Happy I am to see Larian Studios succeed with the critical and commercial hit that is Baldur's Gate 3. The user score on Metacritic is maintaining its overwhelmingly positive score. If you go to Metacritic, while we haven't seen more critic reviews to give us a better picture for what the Metascore will be like, I'd be surprised if the game didn't maintain a high Metascore. And the Metacritic user score is still maintaining itself at a 9.3, this time from 446 ratings.
Well, there's also like no there's like, so remember when I was talking to you guys about like protest reviews? Where like people review a game.
I don't remember that.
And like, oh, this is the worst game.
I don't watch your show quite often enough to know everything you say.
I hate this piece of shit. I hate that the old game used to be so much better. The new games are not good. The old ones are way better. Game sucks. It's a 0. Right? This is, I mean, truthfully, this is a protest review. This is not a serious review. It's not like a, you know, it's, I wouldn't take, Diablo 4 had a lot of these, for example. And I wouldn't take these reviews that seriously, but I think Baldur's Gate gets the opposite. Baldur's Gate is going to get people that are going to rate it really highly because they just support the, like what it represents. You know?
I want to see something. Is this ducking actually applying to the video, or is it only happening in my headphones?
Like
in my headphones. Nope, that was too fast. I've gotta go back and play my headphones. Let me, sorry. This might be weird with the repeat fast.
They're happy that a game gets released.
I've got to go back and
it's a full game,
my headphones.
And there's no microtransactions.
This
Like, that
might
just
be
makes
weird
people
with the
happy,
repeat
period, so they're
fast.
gonna vote it up based off of just that.
Before, the user score was at a 9.3 from 150 ratings, and then beyond that, the game is selling gangbusters based on the peak concurrent players. And before, the user score was at a 9.3 from 150 ratings, and then beyond that, the game is selling gangbusters based on the peak concurrent players. And before, the user score was at
yeah, seems to be only in my headphones. Well, so much for that. Well.
The fact that it keeps going up every day. On launch day, August 3rd, the peak was roughly at 470,000 players, and then that became 600,000 players on August 4th yesterday, and then today, on August 5th, the game has peaked at over 700,000 players.
Yeah, it's gone up a lot during the weekend, and I think I think it probably will go down. Dude, if it goes up again on Monday, what the fuck?
This is also good news.
I would bet on
up.
that not happening.
Good to hear.
But if it does, oh my god, I should just play it just based off of that.
Is massive. And keep in mind that the game isn't even out on PlayStation 5 yet, and the Xbox version is set to arrive sometime in 2024 is the prediction. The game isn't even out on consoles, and it's pulling numbers like these. Larian Studios is flying. Word is spreading about just how content-rich and feature-complete this game is. It's insane just how much content.
I'm biased, totally biased here, but I wish all games would do that. Come out on PC first and then consoles, instead of being console exclusive and then coming out on PC. I fucking hate that, especially with Spider-Man games, because they take forever to come to PC. Basically any Sony exclusive, it takes forever, like a freaking year or more to come out on PC. I hate that shit. Like maybe a month, 2 months, but a year? Come on, give me a break.
I forgot what the word feature, I forgot that term, feature complete. I'm gonna be real. I haven't heard that term since like 2005. Do y'all remember that? Whenever people would say shit like that, feature complete? Damn, when was the last time I heard of a game being feature complete?
I haven't heard that term used in a long time.
In
it's true.
What little of the map I've experienced.
Not to say that the games don't come out feature complete anymore, because some do. A lot of them don't, but some do.
Baldur's Gate 3 just feels like a video game in its purest form. No monetization, no exploitation, no artificial elements to try to keep...
I think that the monetization and stuff like that, like battle passes, etc., you know, I mean, like, it's a live service game with some of these things, and so, like, I understand it. But, like, you could make an argument that, like, that kind of shit is, it is immersion breaking. It is. Whenever you get these pop-ups, spend money on the game. Like, it makes it no longer a transcendent experience.
I don't think that's the big problem with microtransactions. At least not for me. For me, the big problem with microtransactions is that, and this is mostly with you know, like, high-dollar games like Diablo 4 or... you know, games that charge you $60, $70+ for the game to begin with. And then on top of that, they got to tack on all these fucking microtransactions. That's like getting a kick in the dick. I don't get it, man. You've already charged me like full game. I should have access to everything priced for the game. And then you want me to pay more for additional stuff on top of that? I mean, that's okay if you want to, you know, charge like $5 for a cosmetic item, you know, something that's, you know, like if I like this character in a movie and then you release a costume for my character in the game that's that movie and I want that look on my character, sure, fine, go ahead and do that. But then you have these games like, what the hell is the name of that game? Is that Triple E or whatever it is, exploration, conquering the world, you know, that, why can't I think of the name of it? I'm going to have to open my Steam. What the hell is it called? It's all right. Give me a minute. I'll be right back with you. Because this one's a huge example of doing shit like that. Where basically what they'll do is they'll release the game, and then like every 6 months to a year, they'll release an additional portion of the game and charge you like another $20 fucking dollars, even though they already charged you $60 to begin with for the game. What the hell was it called? And it's not even that good of a game, but it's got a big like fan base, customer base. Where the hell is it? I made the mistake of spending like $100 on this crap too, because it had like 20 of the DLCs included with it. Not X4. Is it? Damn it. Stellaris. There it is. Stellaris. That fucking game. And it's not, I mean, it's like a really basic ass game. They charge you $60 just for the base game and then $20 to $30 for every DLC. And there's like 500 fucking DLCs for this game. I'll never make that mistake again. If I see a game that has 30 plus DLCs, $20 a piece, never buying that game. Oh, and Sims 4, they do that shit too.
In the same way that playing something like Dark Souls or playing, you know, an old game or playing, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is, I think it's a big deal.
You engage or whatever. It just feels like the goal of the game was to maximize the fun and the immersion and the narrative and just bring out the best of Baldur's Gate and what makes Dungeons and Dragons special. Every bit of dialogue is well written, voiced, and all of it feels very cinematically presented. The gameplay, the way,
and that's a big draw for me, having a lot of voice lines, because I don't like fucking reading quest lines. Like when I see, like, and this is when, even though I played World of Warcraft for years, I would not read all that fucking dialogue. I started reading it for like the first month or two when I was reading it, just to see if I was like needing that for specific information in lore. And then I was just, I don't want to read all this shit, because it turned out it was never worthwhile. But if it's voice dialogue, you know, then you get the information that you need. You get more engaged. You get more involved in the game. You get more information about what's going on, because you don't have to read this text. It's in a voice that actually emphasizes what's important instead of just reading, you know, because you don't get the tone and the I forget my vocabulary is terrible. You don't get the emphasis on words that you get when someone's speaking when you're reading something. So that's a huge draw for me. I really like it when they voice instead of making you read shit.
Way it's basically adapted the 5th edition D&D system 1-to-1 and how addictive the combat is. I mean, every aspect of this game just shines, and it looks fantastic to boot. I'm not saying that Baldur's Gate 3 is the only game that is massive and consumer-friendly and just rich in its content and substance, but there's just something about Baldur.
Well, I think
it's not the only game, but it's getting rarer. It's getting much, much rarer for game companies to actually give you a game where they charge you full game price for it, and they actually give you a whole game. Like this was my big fucking gripe with Diablo 4, is that game is $60. It's fucking $70. An additional $10, a full price plus 10 game, and it's like an hour's worth of gameplay over and over. Okay, now granted, if you want to continue doing that same gameplay loop over and over again for thousands of hours, so you can get better gear to do the same gameplay loop with the same monsters that have higher stats, sure, it's got more than an hour's worth of gameplay, but it's a fucking hour's worth of gameplay plus maybe an hour's worth, not even an hour's worth of fucking cinematics. Like, there's what, 5 cutscenes in that game, and okay, probably more than 5, but it's less than an hour's worth of cinematics and maybe an hour, 2 hours worth of actual gameplay loop. Because all you do in that game is you go out and you smash your character into a pile of demons. And granted, you do that in a large map, and there's maybe 10 different types of enemy, but it's a very limited gameplay loop. And they could have charged like $30 would have been a reasonable price for that game, but they charge you $70, and it's a super fucking limited game. There's just not much there. There's not. Even if you look at all the gear that you get, the only difference between one piece of gear and another piece of gear is the stat rolls that you get on it in most cases. It's ridiculous how much they charge for that fucking game. I hate it. I wish I could have gotten a refund, but I played it for more than an hour, so I can't get a refund on that fucking lemon.
Even if there's not a lot of them, or that there are multiple ones, each one should be acknowledged and appreciated, right? Because yeah, like there are other games that come out that are the same, and like I think they deserve a video too. They deserve people to talk about it too.
Skate 3 that feels really special
Sure.
because it is a true RPG, the likes of which we haven't seen in a very long time, at least not to this degree of scale and richness, complexity, and player agency.
Yeah, I think the last one was, what, Dragon's Breath, or not Dragon's Breath? You know what I'm talking about. Came out like 5-6+ years ago. It's been a while.
And like true role-playing, you know, it feels like going...
Absolutely. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is also complete. Why did it not receive the same treatment? Dude, I feel like a lot of people said a lot of positive stuff about Final Fantasy 14. I think people were super positive about the game. What do you mean? Yeah, people were massively like happy about it, and also because it was only on PS5. So like, how many people had a chance to be able to play that game? I meant 16. If I said 14.
Yeah, I don't even know which one you're talking about. There's so many fucking Final Fantasy games. I only got into the one that was online, and I played that for like a month before I got sick of it. And yeah, so I was just never a Final Fantasy fan. It was too religious for me.
Final Fantasy 16. Like, how many people can play that game? Like, a lot more people have PCs probably than PS5s.
Back to an old friend, an old genre whose potential has been taken to its current apex. I hope to do a more dedicated video on Baldur's Gate 3 as a video game to talk about all of its merits, but beyond that, for this video, I want to talk about just how based Larian Studios as a developer is. On their official website, they have this FAQ section where they present a number of questions that people might have, and among the ones that they decided to highlight is this one right here. Are there any in-game purchases?
And they said no in-game purchases. Look at that. That is a rarity in today's day and age. And I wouldn't have even been mad if they had cosmetic in-game purchases. I don't care if a game does cosmetic in-game purchases. But if you're going to sell me a fucking game that has less content in it than frickin' Super Mario Brothers when it came out for fucking $20 to $30, way back in the frickin' 80s or 90s, then you don't deserve $70 to begin with, and then on top of that, you're going to charge more for DLCs? You can eat shit, buddy.
I showed this on my video,
and their response
too.
is just absolutely perfect. No, there are no in-game purchases in our game. We believe in providing a complete and immersive gaming experience without the need for additional purchases. Enjoy the game to its fullest without any additional costs or microtransactions. People have already taken notice of this statement, and it's gone viral. You can tell how much people are clamoring for these types of pure gaming experiences.
Oh, dude, whenever I made the video about this game, where the fuck is it? It got 774,000 views 3 days ago.
It doesn't surprise me.
And people were so positive. They were like super fucking positive. Like my friend Eric, he texted me. He said this. He says, I bought Baldur's Gate 3 mostly in part due to your recent video about the studio in the game. Straight up fucking, he saw the video. He's like, you know what? Yeah, true. Let's get it.
I never watched his other video about Baldur's Gate 3. Sorry, Asmon. I don't watch a lot of your stuff. I'll probably do that more often now that I'm looking for reaction videos, but I haven't watched a lot of your videos. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge draw for me. If a game has a lot of content in it and it's a full complete game that justifies the full complete game price, that's a rarity today for some reason.
You know, and he like played Elden Ring. He actually got me to play Dark Souls one time. He was the first one that introduced me to Dark Souls back in the day. And he actually even played WoW before I did. We went to like middle school and high school together and everything. Known him forever. We became friends by competing with each other about who knew more about Lord of the Rings. Neither of us had a girlfriend.
How welcome these kinds of rare breed games are when they do come
That's fine. You don't need a girlfriend. People put way too much emphasis on having relations.
along on a AAA scale every once in a while. On some level, it's kind of sad that seeing a statement like this brings me so much joy because back in the good old days, this was just
That's
standard,
how it is.
right? Games were much
They
more
were feature
pure
complete.
before corporate greed began to corrupt game design through the mandated implementation of monetization systems or artificial extension of gameplay that make games grindier so that the monetization systems can alleviate those artificially implemented insufferable elements.
Appreciate
There's
what
so
you're
much
doing
focus on live services with
Ruining
multiple
video games for
types of
everybody.
premium currencies meant to confuse customers and meant to get them to spend as much money as possible.
I'm a hot take. I say it before, I say it again. I think that it should be against the law to have premium currencies in games. I think that they only serve to obfuscate the price of things, and they function exclusively to deceive the consumer.
That is true. It's absolutely 100% true. The only purpose for an in-game currency is to disassociate real money from what you're spending in the game. That is the only reason it exists. And the whole reason they do that is so that you're more willing to spend that currency. That is exactly true. And it should be illegal.
And they are actively they are not only not good for the consumer, but they are actively predatory against the consumer. They should not exist in any game for any reason. Everything on a store should be in USD or the current currency. Yeah,
Exactly.
they exclusively exist to obfuscate your spending. In any other situation, this would be illegal, right? Like having something that is part of the buying process that exists as a tool to make it harder for you to understand what you're buying and what you're spending anywhere else it's fucking illegal. I'm amazed that games get away with this.
That's not true. It's not illegal in Disneyland. They have their own currency. And that's in real life. And that's not even in a video game. But it should be illegal for video games to do that shit.
It's only in the gaming industry? Well, it's also in casinos too, but I don't think that's a good frame of reference.
So that they can reasonably obtain the rewards and items that they want or reasonably progress through the game. Even a lot of single-player games that come out in this day and age try to find some way to implement some
What do you mean
form.
that's true in casinos? That's not true in casinos. They don't have an in-game currency. They have casino chips, which is not the same thing because those have the actual dollar amount printed directly on the chip, so you know exactly how many dollars you're putting down. The only reason they use chips is because it's easier to handle than paper on the table.
Of microtransactions, with companies calling them time savers when the reality is that they just decided to take out features or content so that players will have to shell additional money on top of the $60 to $70 premium price point.
For a
And these
DLC
are elements that do take
that
you
should
out
have
of the
been
game
in the
that
game
make you
in the
remember
first place.
that this is
This is
a
a video
product
game.
rather than a fully immersive
yeah.
experience. But then a game like Baldur's Gate 3 comes out to remind us just how good we had it before microtransactions were normalized. But at the same time, it's good to see that these
Keep in mind, I always gotta say that there were so many duds back in the day. Oh my god.
There's always duds.
Hey, any King's Quest enjoyers?
Never played it.
Holy fuck, any Dragon Slayer enjoyers?
Seen it, never played it. Even when it was in
my
the arcade
God.
in the 90s.
Remember that fucking desert?
I looked at that game and I saw people playing it and I'm like, you get killed just from touching the dragon? It's not even gameplay.
Shitty fucking things, you move around, it hits your toe, your character's dead. Oh, well the dragon's fucking pinky finger didn't even touch your character.
Now, it's weird that he's complaining so much about Dragon Slayer when he promotes games like Elden Ring. Isn't that basically the same thing with better graphics? Oh, the guy touched you with the swoosh that came off of the edge of his sword. You're dead because you didn't jump far enough out of the way. Is that not the same thing, Asmon? with different graphics. Come on, be fair. That's a little bit hypocritical.
Character, but you're still dead because it's in the hitbox. Oh my god.
Kinds of studios still exist, the ones who prioritize really giving players the most value out of their $60 to $70 purchase as possible. And I commend them for putting this on their website and making an official statement about this, because on some level they're low-key calling out the rest of the industry.
I think this is not low-key, but yeah, you're right.
Third-party publishers and companies who insist on compromises for the sake.
You know, it takes a lot of balls to tell investors, well, I guess, I don't know if Larian sounds like they're an independent company that doesn't do investors and shit like that they have to kowtow to and make their game worse to make their investors happy. And maybe that's why they're able to release a better game that's actually complete and has a lot of stuff in it and is fairly priced, unlike Diablo 4, which is completely overpriced, almost by more than double, if you ask me. So yeah, I think they should be proud of that, and they should shout it from the fucking rooftops. Hey, we don't have bullshit microtransactions and expensive, overpriced, incomplete games and shit that you have to pay more money for coming down the road that should have been in the fucking game to begin with.
Of profit, who insist on corrupting game design and player experience because there are ways to use the interactive nature of video games to squeeze players and psychologically manipulate them. But a private and independent company like Larian Studios, who are self-published and who are their own bosses, don't have to adhere to those corporate agendas.
And neither do we.
Oh, too true. Gamers, if you're not aware. But the problem really is, it's not so much that gamers can't not buy games that have these bullshit microtransactions. The problem is that a lot of gamers, you're not necessarily aware of the depths of bullshit that you're getting into when you buy a game. And you can't just turn around after you discover them and say, give me my money back. I don't want to play this game anymore and I want my money back because you have all this bullshit in the game that shouldn't have been there and it's not a feature complete game. Even on Steam, if you play the game for more than what, an hour or 2 hours, you can't get your money back. And it's not for 2 hours into the game. It's not until you even complete the entire game that you discover, oh, there's limited content, or there's, you know, this game is adding DLCs later on that should have been in the original game, or the price is way higher than it should have been, because you get at least 2 hours of content with almost any game. And you're not going to discover how limited that content was until after that 2 hour mark. So it's not necessarily gamers' fault. You can't turn around and get your money back. You should be able to. If a game is obviously incomplete or being manipulative with monetary microtransaction policies, or adding shit later on that should have been in the game at the beginning that you have to pay additional money for, you don't know that shit until it's too late to get your money back.
If everybody just decided, well, we're not going to buy battle passes anymore.
That I can agree with.
Well,
I've never bought a battle pass except for one time, and I figured out what it was.
And if
I thought
you
it was
stop buying them,
I thought battle passes were like oh, what the hell is that called? You know that thing where they'll give you DLC, like the first DLC or additional DLCs if you pay like an additional $10 when you buy the game initially. I thought that's what battle passes were, so I bought one, and then I was like, wait a minute, all I'm getting is access to additional cosmetic shit in the game? I'm not buying any fucking battle passes. Fuck that. It's a waste of money.
If enough people stop buying them,
so I don't buy them
then it
anymore.
Stops happening.
I do not buy battle passes.
But the people are stupid. And that's the problem.
Long as the leader is as passionate about gaming as the community is, the leader of Larian Studios is Sven Vick, who is a gamer and a fan of fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons at heart. You can just see how much fun he's having with the creative process of this game. Like, you don't see frickin' Bobby Kotick doing stuff like this, do you? A studio like
I don't
Larian
really pay
Studios
attention to Bobby Kotick. I know Asmon's talked about him in depth.
Let's move on.
A publisher like Larian Studios is not common at all in this day and age. And so to see them succeed and to see them have this stance on in-game purchases and to see them just deliver such a pure video game and to see the audience and the people react accordingly by buying this game and enjoying it en masse with concurrent players peaking higher and higher every day, it just warms my heart, and it gives me hope that, you know, more development studios, up-and-comers or established ones, will follow this model and understand
that's the good thing, right? That's the best thing about it, is that whenever you have a
It gives me
game
hope.
like Baldur's Gate that's massively successful, or like Elden Ring, for example, or Vampire Survivors or Halls of Torment, a game like this, that is like an advertisement to the industry. This works. And it says not only does this work, but there is like massive social cachet in this. People will respect you for it. People will care about this.
And this is also why I prefer games from smaller studios, like Oxygen Not Included. It's one of my favorite games. It's been one of my favorite games since it came out, and it's, what, 4 years old now? I still play Oxygen Not Included. For Kerbal Space Program 2, it was, what, $30 for that game? And it's, to me, Kerbal Space Program 2, even though it's still in basically alpha, or I don't know if it's, I guess it's like pre-release, I don't know, I don't remember exactly all the fucking terms for games that haven't officially released yet, but I would much rather spend $30 on Kerbal Space Program 2 than $70 on fucking Diablo 4. Because one, it's much less risk if the game does turn out to suck, which Diablo 4 absolutely did. It turned out, and that's a shit fucking game. It's not worth $30 in my opinion, but I spent $70 on that piece of shit. I played it for 2 days, and I'm never going to play it again. I might jump in once in a while for an hour or two just to see if they've actually added content that makes the game actually a game, rather than just a, you know, repetitive fucking slosh fest where I'm jumping into a pile of demons and killing them just so I can get a slightly better stat on a piece of fucking gear. And then there's, you know, what's the point of even getting the better gear? Oh, so you can fight the final boss. Oh, well, you already fought the final boss in the beginning. All they did was add a different move and make it harder to kill that boss. So you have to have better gear in order to kill that same boss again. That's what the fuck? Add a different boss. Add more content to the game. Put more into it. That requires me to play the game for more than 2 fucking hours to see all the content and all the game and what it's about. Change up the scenery. Change up the frickin' enemies. Do something to where it's not so fucking repetitive and pointless to play your goddamn game. And this is another thing. Diablo 4 is nothing but a new skin on Diablo 3. Diablo 3 already had more to it than Diablo 4 does now. Why didn't you just add a fucking DLC to Diablo 3? Give me a break. There's nothing new about Diablo 4 that wasn't already in Diablo 3. Except for, you know, the look of the enemies. Or the boss fight is a new boss fight. That's a DLC. That's not a new game. That pisses me off when game companies do that shit. They take an old game. And this was true with Assassin's Creed. Oh my God. They repeatedly sold that same game over and over again for fucking a decade. Assassin's Creed, the original game, and then 2 and then 3. And they were all the same fucking game with one little piece of DLC content added to it. And they called it a new game. Give me a break. They didn't change the engine. They didn't fix the bugs. They didn't even fix the issues with running up the freaking wall properly. But it's been quite a few years since I've played an Assassin's Creed game, so I might get the new one, maybe.
And it, like Final Fantasy 16 was the same way. There's a lot of games like this. So every time that a game like this succeeds, gamers as a whole succeed.
This model is sorely missed and can be highly successful if you deliver. And what makes Larian Studios even more based is that its CEO has come out to say that it intends to stay private and independent. It intends to not be corrupted by corporations who may be looking to acquire Larian Studios. A few days ago, on August 3rd, 2023, news outlet Bloomberg released an article titled The Strange Story Behind Baldur's Gate 3, one of the year's biggest releases. Reporter Jason Schreier spoke to Larian Chief Executive Officer, or CEO, Sven Vink. And among the topics that was brought up was a list of potential acquisitions that Microsoft and Xbox were trying to make. I believe this was information that came out as part of their court proceedings with the FTC in regards to the Activision Blizzard acquisition and whether that's anti-competitive or not. Microsoft has this internal mergers and acquisitions consideration list from back in 2021. And you can see that this list included some major players, including Bungie, FromSoft, CD Projekt, Hello Games, IO Interactive.
Which is like, I mean, that's good. Like, Microsoft should be thinking about, like, how can, like, who can we acquire, how can we do it, etc.
I wish they wouldn't, though, because, you know, as soon as they do, they're going to add their fucking microtransaction bullshit. They're going to add their fucking releasing a full-price game that shouldn't be at that price. They're going to add their fucking incomplete game release where they charge you more for DLCs. They're going to do all that bullshit as soon as they fucking acquire the company. Well, the only reason they're doing it is so they can get the additional IP and so that they can, you know, say, ooh, look, we can sell a game that's got all this extra bullshit in it and make even more money off of the game that they released that was actually good.
And among those listed was none other than Larian Studios, developers of Divinity and Baldur's Gate 3. Jason Schreier brought this up to Vink alongside speculation that an Xbox acquisition of Larian might still be in consideration, to which Vink straight up said, I'm getting older, but I'm certainly not done yet. He has no plans to sell anytime soon.
Good. Fuck them. Don't sell your company. We need more developers that are independent and willing to not sell out to their fucking shareholders or kowtow to their fucking marketing departments.
Thank God.
A new owner might pressure Larian to maximize profit while curtailing its creative choices.
There'd be no bear sex scene.
There was actually a bear sex scene in Baldur's Gate 3. You can actually have a relation with a bear. That's fucking awesome. Totally unique. I love that. No other game does that.
And then
would it
this
really
is a
be
direct
the same
quote,
game?
The strength of this company is that I'm very invested in the gameplay and I also make the ultimate decisions. We can do things in service of the games we're making. That's the thing about Vink. He's not just a businessman who's a CEO. He is a gamer who's a CEO. He values these franchises, these video games, as much as we do, so he puts that passion back into the games and doesn't want that to be corrupted by corporate greed.
Oh, it's a huge difference. Like, you remember back whenever Mike Ybarra took over Blizzard and then they got rid of all the stupid things that were in Shadowlands and, like, I think it was BFA or something like that at the time. I don't remember when exactly. Remember whenever he just took over and he was like, yeah, well, you know what? Why do we have the AoE cap? Let's just get rid of it. And then it was gone. Yeah, it was Shadowlands. Yeah, that's what happens whenever you have people that are in decision-making roles that actually fucking use the product. They understand what the problems are. This is why, like I always say, I want to see the developers play their own game. Because I think that if you do see the developers play their own game, so much more makes sense. I'll say again with new...
Well, it's not just the developers playing their own game. I'm sure a lot of developers do play their own game. The problem is that they don't make the decisions. The people playing the game and making it don't get to choose what gets put in the game. That's done by the fucking board of directors or the people in charge of the money or the advertising. Those are the pricks making the decisions on what gets put in the game, and that's why the game has so many bugs and sucks ass and has microtransactions and is incomplete. Those are the fuckers making those decisions.
New World. I think things turned around with New World after they did that developer playthrough of Mirkgard. They did that 10-man developer playthrough of Mirkgard, and then after that, the game started getting better because people could see what the developers were actually doing.
By the pursuit for profit, because for him, that's not the end goal. For him, the end goal is that creative fulfillment and giving players a really special experience through the interactive nature of video games, this very special medium that's so unique that he's also so passionate about. This is a CEO who's also a big fan of the projects that he's undertaking and understands the responsibility that he has to players. And so the top priority for him is to do these games justice, to make the game that is the dream game for him, and in turn the dream game for players, the game that he would want to play and experience and realize. And it's a beautiful thing. It's all too rare. And it pleases me to hear that Vink has no intentions to sell Larian Studios anytime soon, because
why would he?
It is my belief that a game like Baldur's Gate 3 would never be made under a more corporate environment. A game like Baldur's Gate 3 exists because it's a labor of love. It is
I mean, didn't they almost go bankrupt 3 or 4 times, and like people had to cut their salaries and shit? It was bad. Like, this shit almost didn't happen. Like, I think there's definitely, like, there's an element of survivorship bias with this, where, like, we see them succeed, great, but I bet there's tons of people that tried to do this exact same thing and they didn't make it.
Genuine passion project and not just a profit-driven project. Larian Studios being a private and independent company and having a CEO who's essentially like the creative director of its projects and who is creatively invested in these projects, that affords a level of flexibility, a level of passion, and that passion being allowed to shine to its fullest degree that I feel like it's just not possible in another environment where there is a corporate overlord who oversees everything and who wants things done a certain way or by a certain time. Baldur's Gate 3...
I mean, here's the thing, is that I don't... like,
the
look at
corruption
Nintendo,
of greed.
for example. Nintendo still makes good games. Like, by all measures, it seems like Tears of the Kingdom is pretty great.
Yeah, but
And Breath of
Nintendo
the Wild
also
was
doesn't
pretty
have
great.
the corporate
Pikmin 4
overlords.
is coming out. People like that. People like Pikmin, right? Most of the time,
Plus, the other thing
I think
with
Nintendo
is they have old hardware. They're very limited on what they can do. So if the game isn't good and the quality of the hardware isn't good, nobody's going to buy that shit. So they have to Nintendo actually has to have higher quality games because you're playing on lower quality hardware. So if you don't have that if you don't have that you don't have that higher quality of creativity in your games to make up for the lack of graphics, nobody would buy Nintendo. But Nintendo's survived since the inception of home-based gaming, where you didn't have to go to an arcade. You could play arcade games at home. Nintendo's came out back in those days, and the entire reason that they've been a juggernaut in the industry is because of the higher level of creativity with their games. Not saying that they don't release crappy games, but they do have a whole lot of IP that's got a higher level of creativity in their games, like the Mario franchise and the Zelda franchise mostly. Those two are the big ones, Mario and Zelda. But if they didn't have those
games,
IPs, they would fail for sure.
But I think the problem is the focus that they have on 3-month profits, quarterly profits. That is what the problem is. It's not even being a corporation, it's being that kind of a corporation.
Is a product of a studio that could really do whatever they wanted, push their ambitions however far they could, was well managed, unless there's some behind the scenes stuff that I haven't heard about. But given that Baldur's Gate 3 came out the way it did, and given that Vink himself has come out and said that the reason he delayed the console versions was because in part he didn't want his developers, the people working under him, his employees.
Well, the nerds that play this game have a gaming PC, let's just be honest. Bro, the nerds that play Baldur's Gate 3, absolute gaming PC owners.
And his colleagues to crunch. Like, all of that suggests that, Larian Studios is just a gem of a publisher, a company, and development team. Just every aspect of Baldur's Gate 3 was so well handled. From the early access, it is, I think, one of the best uses of early access. They allowed players to play a significant...
Yeah, I forgot it even happened. As I said, like, I didn't even know I had Baldur's Gate. I was like, I have the game? What the fuck? I had no clue.
portion of the game, thereby allowing the community to play test elements and provide feedback that was then used to improve the game. Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't over-marketed, they didn't over-promise too much on anything, and they didn't output these fake, overly decorated trailers. They often just showed the game, its flaws and all. And then at the end of the day, they delivered a massive game full of substantial content with rich RPG systems, with a table.
And it must have been another video I watched that covered all this, but they've got over 100 hours of cinematics, I think. Like over 100 different endings to the game. Like 1,000 hours of voice lines or something like that. Or 1,000 lines of voice acting. Not hours, 1,000 lines of voice acting. And that's more than any other game I've ever played. And I've more than 2 endings in a game. I've almost never seen that. I think I've seen maybe 2, maybe 3 different endings in a game ever. That's ridiculous. Over 100 different endings to the game. That means I'm probably going to want to play it more than once. I just wanted to check something. So, let's go to the store page on Steam here. How much is Baldur's Gate 3? $60. $10 less than Diablo 4. How does Baldur's Gate 3 come out for $10 less than Diablo 4 when Diablo 4 is just a repetitive fucking piece of shit? $10 less. Blizzard. I don't think I'm ever going to buy another fucking Blizzard game after Diablo 4. I mean, $70 fucking dollars for that piece of shit. Give me a break. I'm never like not even gonna give them the opportunity to fucking snake me like that again.
Top system fully intact. They didn't rush the console versions out. They didn't pull a Cyberpunk where they shipped completely broken console versions. Instead, they evaluated the situation, realized that they needed to prioritize the PC version and delay the PlayStation 5.
Thank God. So that's what y'all get. The console pussies. Fuck you guys, huh? How does it feel?
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a shitty way to treat people.
And the Xbox version they need to delay further because they need extra time to implement split-screen co-op on Xbox Series S. Nothing about the game feels phoned in or artificially crafted. Everything just feels meticulously handcrafted. Every bit of content feels like it was done with care, and no monetization systems or microtransaction schemes to corrupt the gameplay design. The one thing you might pay extra for is the deluxe edition.
And I saw another video, I can't remember how old it was, but they were talking about how other developers were talking about how this Baldur's Gate 3 shouldn't be looked at as a bar for other games to reach. Fucking eat shit. It's the player that sets the bar of what they expect from a game, not the fucking developer. Developers, they set their own bar, what they're going to give you. And if you don't meet my bar, I decide what I like in a video game, not the developers. So if you can't or choose not to meet that bar, that's your fault, first of all. Secondly, if you don't want to meet my quality standards, then I'm not going to buy your fucking product. Or if I do make the mistake of buying your product, I'm going to keep in mind that you made that piece of shit and I'm not going to buy another one of your products. Like that's how I feel about Blizzard right now. I am never going to buy another product from Blizzard, at least until I know for a fact that they've met a higher bar. I bought Diablo 4 thinking it's going to be at least as good as Diablo 3, right? No, it wasn't even as good as Diablo 3.
Of the game, so on Steam, that'd be $70.
Let me correct that. It wasn't anywhere at all better than Diablo 3. It was basically just a fucking Diablo 3 clone with less content.
On PlayStation 5, that'd be $80, which comes with a few goodies like the digital original soundtrack, a digital art book, digital character sheets, and some little bits of items and content in the game that are neat little extras, but you're really not missing out on much at all by not purchasing the digital deluxe edition. You can see the details if you go to the Steam page.
It's like shit like this. Who cares about shit like this? People care. Like, the problem is that whenever, like, I think that there's just like this obvious fucking line where a game,
and look how nothing in that digital deluxe edition, you're not missing out on anything in the game. Like there's no additional chapters, there's no additional quests, there's no additional content in the game. It's just bonus shit for people that like that bonus shit. That's how you do editions. That's how you do a deluxe edition. You don't add content. Fucking Blizzard loves to do this shit where you get a special cosmetic in the game. You get a special quest line in the game that's only available if you spent another $20 fucking dollars on a game that was already way overpriced. I mean, the cosmetic shit, fine. You can add cosmetics in the game for digital deluxe, but don't add any content to the game, like quest lines, story, additional lore, stuff that I want to be part of the game that I play at your ridiculously overpriced price. Stuff that should have been in there to begin with, in an additional higher tier price product.
Game is overly monetized, right? And there's like different levels of it being just blatant and shameless.
And browse through the screenshots. I, for one, personally would have no qualms getting the more expensive edition or paying that extra $10 after the fact just to support the studio because of what a remarkable video game they've constructed here and because of their display of consumer friendliness and not compromising on the integrity of their creativity that is harder and harder to find in the modern day AAA gaming landscape.
If I had some good money, or if I had a lot of money in my account, or if I was making good money, I would totally agree with that. Sure, pay the additional $10 because you want to support the direction of the studio. What they're putting out is better than the shit you're getting from other studios. Pay that additional $10. Totally agree with that if you can afford it.
So just lots of kudos to Larian. Just big congrats to them on the massive critical and commercial success of this game.
Because even with the additional $10, you're not paying any more than you paid for fucking Diablo 4.
Whatever may come next for this studio, I wish them all the best. Larian Studios is proving to be the developers that we need, but not the one we deserve. Anyway, that's my take on all the awesome developments.
People keep buying those fucking battle passes. Oh, I hate these. I hate these so much. Give me the next one.
Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Baldur's Gate 3 and what your experience has been like with the game if you've been checking it out. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on YongYea. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, that's his video. YongYea.
Well,
go to his channel, give him a like if you like this content. You can find his link on Asmon's link that I put in the description down below.
Maybe I should try it out. I could do it this week. I kind of want to try it. I mean, maybe at least I'll play it one day, right?
I don't know if I'll be jumping into it this week. I'm kind of wanting to get through. I'm wanting to complete Oxygen Not Included. Love that game, Oxygen Not Included. And Oxygen Not Included isn't a $70 fucking game, and it's got a shitload more content to it than Diablo 4. Oxygen Not Included, I think, was less than fucking $30. Less than half the price of fucking Diablo 4. And it's a shitload better game. Much, much better game than Diablo 4. I'm sure Baldur's Gate is 100 times better than Diablo 4. And it's cheaper than that fucking overpriced piece of crap.
It would be cool if we could play it with like a handful of individuals, you know? How many people you play it with? What's the number? It's 3, right? 4? Okay, it's 4. There's a video. It's a young video.
You can play it with other people too.
Like, really...
Well, if anybody watches my stream and you want to join me for when I eventually get around to playing Baldur's Gate 3, let me know down in the comments, because I don't have friends that play video games, so I would love to play with other people.
Like, everybody see that? That's the way everybody fucking feels whenever they're like, yeah, see? Look at this. Uh-huh. That's what I fucking thought. You said it wouldn't work. It's working. Yeah, everybody is so happy about it.
No, it's the other people that were saying it's not going to work, or they didn't want it to work, because that means that all the shit that they're putting in their games is actually shit, and people see it and they don't want to spend their money on it, hopefully, and that they can actually get a sense for all the abusive shit that these game companies do to them. putting out fucking crap ass games for extremely high prices, incomplete games that should have had the DLCs initially, and then selling you additional DLCs that should have been in the game for another 20 to 30 fucking dollars a piece, doing that over and over and over again, and then adding microtransactions on top of that for stuff that should be in the game to begin with. You know, cosmetics, sure. Microtransaction the shit out of cosmetics. Other shit, fuck no. Nothing but cosmetics should ever be in a microtransaction.
About this. Thank God. Please make a character. Yeah, I mean, I could play maybe, like, if it was me, it's boring stream content game. I don't know. Like, who cares?
Exactly. I'm streaming my games, stuff I want to watch, the stuff I want to play. I'm not here to play what you want me to play. I'm playing what I want to play, motherfucker.
Like, I don't like boring stream content. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck if the viewers get bored. So what? Like, fuck them. There's gonna be like some guys that watch and they like it, and good for them. Yeah, Diablo 4, we know. Yeah, you know. It's not that big of a deal. I'm bored anyway. Yeah, like, fuck. I mean, you can never... I think that, honestly, I think that's one of the worst things. This is a good video. Give it a like. This is so good. I love this video. Thank fucking God. Who knew that people would like a power...
I'm going to do that myself. And be sure you go to the original source channel and give that a like too, or Asmon's channel and give that a like if you like his content. And like and subscribe down below for me would be greatly appreciated also. That's going to do it for today's episode, and I'll be uploading more in the future. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload or when I'm live. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.